Hi, I'm Benjamin, and this is BenMed Academy. Today we'll be discussing the integumentary system. So, what exactly is the integument? It refers to the skin and its appendages. As the body's largest organ, it accounts for roughly 16% of total body weight and spans an area of about 1.5 to 2 square meters. Let's begin by reviewing the layers of the skin. The skin consists of three main layers: the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. We often refer to the epidermis and dermis together as the cutis, while the hypodermis is referred to as the subcutis. The skin thickness varies considerably. It ranges from approximately 0.5 millimeters in the eyelids to around 4 millimeters in the thicker regions such as the palms and soles. The epidermis is the thinnest layer, typically around 0.1 millimeter, though it can become thicker in some areas. Before we continue, remember, these numbers are not important. Just get the concept and don't try to memorize them. The dermis averages between 1 to 2 millimeters in most regions and can reach up to 3 millimeters in some locations. It's thickest on the back and thinnest on the eyelids and scrotum. The hypodermis, or subcutaneous layer, varies widely depending on body fat distribution. It can range from just a few millimeters to over 3 centimeters. Take a second and think through this. Where in the body is the hypodermis the thickest, and in which groups of people is it most prominent? The hypodermis is thickest in areas like the buttocks, abdomen, and thighs, regions that primarily serve for energy storage and cushioning. It tends to be more prominent in women due to hormonal influences and fat distribution patterns, and in obese individuals, where excess energy is stored as subcutaneous fat. Conversely, it's relatively thin in areas like the eyelids and genitalia, where the fine movement and sensitivity are prioritized over insulation and padding. Let's now move on to the epidermis. This layer is made up of keratinized, stratified squamous epithelium, and its cells are continuously renewed from the basal layer upwards. Keratinized simply means it contains keratin. Stratified means many layers, and squamous means scale-like. Importantly, it is avascular, meaning it lacks blood vessels, and is typically composed of 4 layers, but in thicker skin it includes 5. The 5 sublayers of the epidermis, from deep to superficial, are Stratum Basale, Stratum Spinosum, Stratum Granulosum, Stratum Lucidum, and Stratum Corneum. The term stratum is derived from Latin and simply means layer. Before diving into each layer, let's define a few important concepts. Keratin is a fibrous structural protein that provides mechanical strength to the skin, hair, and nails. It exists in 2 forms: hard keratin found in hair and nails, and soft keratin present in epidermal cells. Keratinization refers to the maturation process where a keratinocyte transforms into a coniocyte. This process typically occurs over 28 days. Tonofilaments are bundles of keratin intermediate filaments within keratinocytes, contributing to cellular architecture and resilience. Desmosomes are specialized junctions that hold keratinocytes together, maintaining epidermal integrity under mechanical stress. Hemidesmosomes, on the other hand, anchor basal keratinocytes to the underlying basement membrane. Lamellar bodies are lipid-rich organelles found in the keratinocytes, particularly in the Stratum Granulosum. They are secreted into the extracellular space and help establish the epidermal water barrier. You may have heard of Filaggrin deficiency in the context of eczema. Let's understand what Filaggrin is and why its deficiency leads to skin barrier dysfunction. The story begins with a precursor protein called proflaggrin, which is stored in keratohyalin granules in the Stratum Granulosum. It is then processed into filaggrin peptides, which help bundle and condense keratin filaments, strengthening and flattening the cells. Eventually, in the Stratum Corneum, filaggrin is degraded into amino acids and their derivatives, collectively known as natural moisturizing factors, or NMF. NMFs are hygroscopic, meaning they attract and retain water, maintaining skin hydration. In atopic dermatitis, mutations in the FLG gene lead to decreased proflaggrin production, reduced filaggrin, and ultimately impaired skin barrier function. Now, let's look at each epidermal sublayer in more detail. The Stratum Basale or basal layer is the deepest layer of the epidermis. It sits directly on the basement membrane and is composed of a single row of mitotically active basal keratinocytes, which continuously divide and push new cells upward. As mentioned earlier, these cells are anchored to the basement membrane via hemidesmosomes. Alongside keratinocytes, the Stratum Basale also contains melanocytes, which have dendritic projections and are responsible for melanin production, and Merkel cells, which serve as mechanoreceptors for touch. In short, the basal layer is essential for cellular regeneration and melanogenesis. At this point, let's briefly shift to a related topic: skin pigmentation. The skin color is primarily determined by three pigments: melanin, keratin, which gives a yellow-orange hue, and hemoglobin, responsible for the pinkish-red tone. Melanin exists in two forms: eumelanin, which gives a brown to black coloration, and pheomelanin, which imparts a yellow to reddish tone. Melanin is synthesized and stored in vesicles known as melanosomes, which are transferred from melanocytes to surrounding keratinocytes via their dendritic processes. Each melanocyte typically delivers melanin to about 36 keratinocytes. In individuals with darker skin, there is increased melanin synthesis, especially eumelanin, and the melanosomes are larger and more numerous. In contrast, lighter skin contains fewer and smaller melanosomes. Notice that it's the amount of melanin that determines the skin color, not the number of melanocytes. That's a common misunderstanding you should avoid. In normal condition, all humans have roughly the same amount of melanocytes. In what conditions does the number of melanocytes increase? The number of melanocytes may increase in certain conditions. For example, benign proliferations like nevi, also known as moles, or malignant ones like melanoma, which we'll cover in future lectures. The Stratum Spinosum consists of 5 to 10 layers of keratinocytes. These cells are interconnected by abundant desmosomes, which give the layer its characteristic spiny appearance under the microscope, hence the name spinosum. For this reason, it's also referred to as the precursor layer. In this layer, keratinocytes begin producing keratin and lamellar bodies. The secretion of these bodies occurs later in the Stratum Granulosum. Another important resident of the Stratum Spinosum is the Langerhans cell, a type of dendritic immune cell. Langerhans cells constantly patrol the area, acting as antigen-presenting cells that monitor for pathogens or injury. In summary, the Stratum Spinosum provides mechanical resilience through desmosomal junctions and tonofilaments, while also contributing to early immune surveillance. The next layer, the Stratum Granulosum or granular layer, is composed of 3 to 5 layers of keratinocytes that are gradually flattened as they move toward the surface. This flattening is due to dehydration and the beginning of organelle degradation. One hallmark of this layer is the presence of keratohyalin granules, which are basophilic and dark-staining structures. These granules contain key proteins, including Filaggrin, which will later be processed into filaggrin to facilitate keratin aggregation. Keratohyalin granules play a crucial role in organizing and cross-linking keratin filaments, helping form the dense cytoskeletal framework of coniocytes. Also significant in this layer are the lamellar bodies. While they begin forming in the Stratum Spinosum, they become functionally active here in the Stratum Granulosum. They secrete lipid-rich contents into the extracellular space, forming the epidermal permeability barrier, essential for waterproofing and protection against transepidermal water loss. Remember this, lamellar bodies are produced in the Stratum Spinosum, but become active and secretory in the Stratum Granulosum. This layer represents the terminal differentiation of keratinocytes. Once cells pass through this stage, they are essentially postmitotic and en route to becoming coniocytes. The Stratum Lucidum is present only in thick skin, such as the palms of the hands and soles of the feet. The thin, translucent layer consists of flattened dead keratinocytes densely packed with a substance called elidin. Elidin is a clear, oily, proteinaceous material. Elidin is believed to be an intermediate product in the transformation of keratohyalin to keratin and contributes to the glossy, transparent appearance of this layer. Hence the name lucidum, derived from Latin meaning clear or shining. Why do thick skin regions like the palms need an extra layer? Although the lucid layer is relatively thin, it adds an extra layer of protection in regions of high friction and mechanical stress, and enhances the water resistance of thick skin. Finally, the Stratum Corneum is the outermost layer of the epidermis. It is composed of 15 to 30 layers of flattened enucleated keratinocytes called coniocytes, embedded within a lipid matrix. This layer is also known as the honey layer, due to the dense accumulation of keratin and the tough, impermeable nature of its cells. These terminally differentiated coniocytes form a durable protective barrier that shields against mechanical trauma, prevents water loss, and inhibits microbial invasion. This layer is in a constant state of desquamation and renewal. The entire turnover cycle of the epidermis, from basal keratinocyte to shed coniocyte, takes approximately 28 days. However, in conditions like psoriasis, this cycle may be shortened to as little as 3 to 5 days, resulting in the accumulation of immature coniocytes and the appearance of scaling or plaques. I knew that was a lot, but we finally finished the epidermis. The dermis is a thick, supportive layer of the skin, composed primarily of connective tissue. As you see here, it contains blood vessels, lymphatics, nerve fibers, hair follicles, and glands. From histology, you'll recall that connective tissue is built from cells, extracellular matrix, and structural proteins. The primary resident cells of the dermis are fibroblasts, which are responsible for producing the extracellular matrix. The extracellular matrix serves as the scaffold of the dermis and is rich in proteins like collagen and elastin. Collagen is the most abundant dermal protein, with type 1 collagen being dominant. It provides tensile strength, allowing the skin to resist stretching forces. Elastin fibers, as the name suggests, provide elasticity, allowing the skin to stretch and then recoil back to shape. The ground substance fills the spaces between cells and fibers. It's a gel-like matrix composed mainly of proteoglycans and glycosaminoglycans, such as hyaluronic acid. These molecules are hydrophilic, maintaining skin hydration and facilitating diffusion of nutrients and waste. In addition to fibroblasts, several immune cells reside in the dermis. While dendritic cells are found in both the dermis and epidermis, mast cells and macrophages are typically restricted to the dermis under normal conditions. The dermis is organized into two distinct layers: the papillary layer and the reticular layer. The papillary layer is the superficial portion of the dermis and is significantly thinner than the reticular layer. It consists of loose areolar connective tissue, characterized by a delicate mesh of collagen and elastin fibers. This layer houses capillary loops, immune cells, and sensory nerve endings. One hallmark structure here is the dermal papillae, small nipple-like projections that interdigitate with the epidermis. The term papilla comes from Latin and refers to any projection resembling a nipple. In regions like the fingertips, dermal papilla push up into the overlying epidermis, creating epidermal ridges, which form fingertips. These patterns are genetically determined during fetal development and remain unique to each individual throughout life. Up next, the reticular layer. Lying beneath the papillary layer, this is the deeper and thicker portion, comprising about 80 to 90 of the dermis. It's made of dense irregular connective tissue, meaning the collagen fibers are arranged in multiple directions, allowing the skin to resist tension from various angles. The reticular layer is also home to most of the skin appendages, including hair follicles, sebaceous and sweat glands, as well as deeper nerve structures such as Pacinian corpuscles. Now let me compare these two layers for you. The reticular dermis is thicker, making up 80 to 90 of dermal thickness. This means only 10 to 20% for papillary dermis. Reticular dermis has dense irregular connective tissue, whereas the papillary dermis has loose areolar connective tissue. Type 1 collagen is the main collagen in the reticular dermis, while the papillary layer contains both type 1 and type 3. Dermal papilla, capillary loops, and Meissner's corpuscles are found in the papillary dermis, but glands, follicles, and Pacinian corpuscles are in the reticular dermis. Lastly, each layer has its specific functions. The papillary dermis nourishes the vascular epidermis, which relies on this layer. The reticular dermis provides tensile strength and houses adnexal structures. The dermal vasculature plays several critical roles. It nourishes the overlying epidermis, it contributes to thermoregulation, and it supports wound healing and immune surveillance. There are two primary vascular plexuses in the skin. The superficial plexus, which resides at the junction of the papillary and reticular dermis. It provides oxygen and nutrients to the epidermis and upper dermis. The cutaneous plexus, also known as deep plexus, located at the dermal-hypodermal junction. It supplies the reticular dermis and adnexal structures such as sweat glands and hair follicles. The hypodermis, also known as the subcutaneous layer, lies beneath the dermis. It's composed of two primary tissue types, adipose tissue and loose connective tissue. The adipose tissue consists of fat-storing cells, called adipocytes, which are arranged in lobules. These lobules are separated by fibrocepta, strands of connective tissue that not only provide a structural support but also carry blood vessels, nerves, and lymphatics into the skin. The functions of the hypodermis are diverse and physiologically important. It stores energy in the form of triglycerides. It cushions internal organs and absorbs mechanical shock. It insulates the body, reducing heat loss through its fat content. It also plays a role in endocrine regulation, as adipocytes secrete various signaling molecules called adipokines, like leptin and adiponectin. That wraps up part 1. In the next part, we'll continue exploring the physiology and functions of the skin in more depth. So if you found this helpful, make sure to check out part 2.